Welcome, dear friends, welcome. Today I am going to be telling you a story of healing, of how I ended up with a beautiful witch doll and a wizard. Yes, dear friends. I would like you to get yourself lovely and comfortable in a position that suits your own needs. If you are lying down, you can wiggle your toes and lift your blankets higher. You make yourself nice and cozy and just relax and let your mind be open to listening to this beautiful, sacred story of how we can be broken but also fixed, dear friend. Yes, just relax the mind and just let yourself go. In a quiet, forgotten corner of a dusty attic, beneath a slanted hatch roof made of hay, where the rain whispered secrets, there lived two small toys, a witch and a beautiful wizard that once had been loved but forgotten, dear friend. The witch's name was Elira. Her painted face was faded. Her tiny stitches had come out of her dress she wore, and it was torn at the seams, and one of her arms was just hanging loosely, where the threads had worn so very thin. There was also a beautiful wizard called Thorne. He had lost most of his stuffing over the years as time went on. His hat was bent, his cloak was torn, and his once bright smile had nearly disappeared beneath the years of his neglect, dear friend. They had both been handled very badly, tossed aside and forgotten. Each carried quiet wounds, not just in their fabric, but in their memory of being unwanted, dear friend. At night, when the house was still, Elira would whisper, "Do you remember what it felt like to be held kinder?" Then silence happened for a few moments. Thorne the wizard turned and paused before answering. His voice was so soft. In his reply, "I do, but it feels far away now. And yet, even in their brokenness, a small flicker of magic remained." One evening, as the moonlight slipped through the attic window, something changed. The air grew warm and felt scented and gentle, balanced. A soft glow of light in the centre of this attic room appeared. It looked like candlelight, but alive. And from that glow stepped out a witch. A witch unlike any they had ever seen before. Her name was Anadika. Her presence was so calm and welcoming and felt ancient and deeply kind. She knelt down so slowly beside them both. Her eyes were full of such understanding, but not pity, but recognition of what they had both been put through. Yes, dear friend. "Oh, little ones," she said, "you've been carrying pain that was never yours to keep." Elira trembled. "We are broken." Anadika shook her head gently and said, "You are wounded, dear, and wounds can heal." She placed her hands above us both, not touching at first, but more of a hovering, as though she was listening to the energy from us both. This felt so good. A soft hum filled the attic. A golden light flowed from her hands, waving through Elira's torn arm, gently fixing what had been pulled apart. Yes, the stitches closed, but not rushed, but with care, as the each of us mattered to her. Yes, dear friend. Thorne felt warmth fill the hollow spaces within him. His form slowly lifted as his stuffing was returned back inside of him, soft and whole again. His hat was replaced with a purple indigo sparkle magic hat. He was so grateful. But Anadika did not stop there. She paused for a second and stood, looking, and then said, "Physical mending is only the beginning." She said this 3 times softly. Physical mending is only the beginning. Physical mending is only the beginning. She then closed her eyes, and the light started to deepen. This light moved into places where the fear had settled, where sadness had been stored. Yes, dear friend. And in that light, something remarkable happened. The memories of harsh hands began to fade. And the feeling of being unwanted softened and started to dissolve. In the place of all the darkness became something new. Something new, friend. And this something new was worth, peace, and belonging. Yes. When the healing was complete, Anadika stood and she smiled. She said, "Every soul deserves to look beautiful too," she said. With gentle motion, she called upon another presence. And from the shadow stepped a lady seamstress called Valenti. Oh, her hands were so graceful and steady. Her eyes filled with joy. She carried threads that shimmered like the starlight, and beautiful, rich fabrics of the most beautiful colours you could possibly imagine, dear friends. The colours she carried seemed to be woven from magical dreams. Valenti knelt beside Elira first. She said, "I will make you something worthy of who you truly are," she whispered in her kind voice. And with care, she crafted a new dress, the most beautifulest, deepest violet healing colour, with threads of silver running through, so it catched the sunlight and made it look like moonbeams. It fit perfect, as though it always belonged to her, dear friend. And for Thorne the wizard, Valenti created a very magical cloak of midnight indigo, lined with soft warmth, and a tall, proud indigo magic hat that stood tall and strong once more. Every stitch she made carried positive intentions, love and dignity and restoration. When she finished, she gently brushed away the last signs of old wear. Yes, dear friend. There, she said in her gentle voice, you're not just restored, but you are renewed. Elira looked at her arm, that was now whole and strong again. Thorne adjusted his cloak, standing taller than ever. He had tears of joy in his eyes. They looked at each other, and for the first time in a very long time, they both smiled together. Not a faded, weak smile they had worn before, but real ones, alive ones, dear friend. Anadika placed her hands over them both. Remember this, she said gently. You were never unworthy. You were simply unseen by those who could not recognize the magic. And to anyone who feels as you once did, she continued, her voice soft but powerful. She said, healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you have always been, my dear, beneath all of your hurt. The attic was no longer heavy with silence. For the first time, it felt warm. It felt safe. and very sacred. She then said, "You're whole again, and you are loved so very much." And their light now quietly glowed strong, enough to remind others or anybody with a wandering heart, you too can be mended. You too can be restored. And you too are worthy of new gentle hands and new beginnings. And that is the story of how we ended up living with Anadika. Lots of love to you, dear friends. Love and light.